Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Lazy Town event in which the Indolator of Sloth is added to the game. So let's get into that. So this thing comes in with blue purple arcanes. It is an epic, so you will be able to get blue purple arcanes for the cheapest they'll ever be, 200 each essentially, so good time to stock up if you need them for upgrades. As far as the troop itself, it's completely useless. It drains 4 mana from all enemies and then gives a bunch of armor and life to itself. Journaling anything with a buff like this, not really that good. Maybe in like delves occasionally they can come into play as a frontline tank when they are applicable there. However, outside of delves, they are very, very bad, especially for an epic. Doesn't really have much going for it. Has this little standard explosion that most Center Mirage troops have. Nothing really too enticing off of traits, and its ability is pretty lackluster, even for a 12 mana cost ability. So overall, dead content. However, it is something relevant about this troop coming into the game. We do finally have Center Mirage to 11 stars, and with 11 stars, it now has a permanent +1 attack bonus extra due to the fact that it got to power level 10. So if you have Queen of Sin and all the other requirements, you will be able to get that permanent +1 attack right there. So that's pretty cool. So at least he did end up bringing in that theoretically. So you still want to go get copies of him, of course, and go and max him out. As far as other things that we got going on this week, we do have 10% to all Center Mirage, as well as 10% to all Daemons, which is pretty much 20% for the entire kingdom, given that almost the entire kingdom is Daemon. Other than that, I wouldn't really advise it, but you do get 40 souls whenever you use the Indolator into your team. However, it is just more efficient to go and actually soul farm. As far as the chest drop table, we of course got Center Mirage as far as the drops. Center Mirage drop table, not really too worth going. If we go over to Center Mirage right over here, nothing really too enticing. However, do keep in mind, if you don't have Queen of Sin and you want to try your luck, it's like a 1 in 1,000 or so. However, if you don't have her yet, she's required for the upgrade currently on Center Mirage for that +1 permanent attack bonus, so it could potentially be worth it in that regard. Other than that, the rest of their drop table is very bad, and the only things that you can't get here are all the Depths of Sin troops. All those are from the Depths of Sin faction. Everything else you see here, though, is obtainable. Nothing really too enticing. Some things you use ever so occasionally, like Gluttony and stuff like that, but overall, pretty underwhelming kingdom. Maybe get a Wrath if you really want it. It's used in a couple skull spam teams. I personally don't care for it compared to Gurgultha and a few other options. However, it is meta for a couple teams, but aside from that, nothing really too enticing. Probably a good week to skip on keys. The only two exceptions really being to get a Wrath copy, or if you want to go and max up the kingdom to +1 attack to get Queen of Sin. But aside from that, probably worth overall skipping this week on event keys and wait until we have a better week. Other than that, for the event week, for the Mortal Lore event, we do have extra spell damage. We also have a new troop through the shop right over here. You can end up getting it on to tier 3 to Legendary, and you can also get it to Mythic, I believe, on tier 5. However, it normally saves a lot more if you just end up using a blue orb in order to max it out if you have one laying around. Once you get to Legend, then just use the blue to get it to Mythic. Aside from that, we do get a new weapon. It seems to be under like the same kind of category as the one we got the other week. It gains a barrier, gives life to an ally, and then cleanse and enchants them. Overall, pretty underwhelming, not really ever going to be used. However, red doesn't really have too many barriers for that much, though they have been giving more lately, but that can kind of help a little bit. Red as a weapon kind of has a decent amount of barriers, but red as a troop type doesn't tend to have much, so it could occasionally be okay for Guild Wars, like probably earlier in the game. Obviously later in the game you could use something like Dawnbringer if you truly need that mechanic, but overall kind of average, not really something you'd probably touch much. However, it can be obtained for 500 gems, or you can get it through the Soulforge this week. So if you want to pick that up, it is available there. But as far as the event, there's a little bit weird scoring going on. While you will normally have 2 battles every single time, the way that it goes is Bone Daemon's worth 3, Inferno Machine is, or sorry, let me restart that. Bone Daemon is worth 2, Inferno Machine is worth 3, Tankbot is worth 4, Iron Jaw is worth 5, Lammerstew is worth 6, and Tartarus is worth 7. The weird part about this is some of them have overlap as far as rarity, and the other really weird thing about this is that the Inferno Machine, Iron Jar, and Tartarus give a higher amount of points based on their level, whereas none of the other ones do. And this is relevant because if they're around level 50 or so, they're going to be giving more points than the other rooms. Tartarus, you don't really need to worry about that because he's the legendary battle and he'll always be the best room and the one that you always want to go for. Tartarus is highest priority this week as far as the event is concerned. However, you do have to keep an eye out on the Inferno Machine and Iron Jaw, as these, beyond about level 50 or so, will end up giving more points than other similar related pointed battles. So they tend to be second priority, and then third priority is then going down to Lamashtu, and then down to Tankbot, and then down to Bone Daemon. It's a little bit weird as far as how it's scored. Overall, you're getting the same battle almost every single time, I've noticed. Like 75% of the time, both battles are the same. So for the most part, you won't really have to choose much. It's almost like a false choice in a way, but trying to do optimal order, definitely a bit more confusing this week. But bottom line, Tartarus is highest priority, and keep in mind that Iron Jaw and Inferno Machine, if at a slightly higher level, will give more points, so do be mindful of that. But other than that, it plays out pretty much like a standard event would end up going down. A restriction is of a red-purple, so you have quite a bit to use. You do have access to Mang, so you can solo it all with Mang. You have access to Tesla, so you can show it all with Tesla. We'll be showing some teams for that in a little bit. However, before we get into that, things that are going on this week. So, today, we have the Illithia faction. This is actually one of the easier factions to do peer faction for, especially with potion effect. Should be a cakewalk. So, if you want to go get that done, yeah, it is available today. I believe this is the first time Illithia has been a Tuesday event as well. Either the first or second since its release. I'm pretty sure this is the very first time. Other than that, for Wednesday, we got a cosmetic pet for Talk Like a Pirate Day. So, that's kind of going to be cool. So, we got that coming in. This is a little cute little pirate cat thingy, I think. I can't even tell. But it's some kind of little pirate thingy. Thursday, we're going to be having the class event for Doomsayer. Doomsayer is very useless, so that's kind of relevant unless you just want a little bit of XP for it to work it forward. And other than that, this Friday, we have a raids event. So you'll be able to go and do the raids then, get a bit more loot. And this Saturday, we're actually going to be having something. A little bit weird to have a Saturday thing, but they are finally doing another Saturday pet. On the day of Saturday, we will be having the 2018 Talk Like a Pirate Day pet. Obviously, this is a 2020 version. The one from 2 years ago was a ghost parrot thing. And if you didn't end up getting that, well, you'll be able to get it this Saturday. And even if you do have it, you can go max it or at least get a little bit more copies of it. Not sure if I'm going to max it or not. I don't think Blackhawk needs it. I'm pretty sure it's associated Blackhawk. Already has enough. I don't know. We'll see. But it will be available this Saturday if you so want it. So this is kind of all the event stuff going on this week. As far as Soulforge, we got a couple things going on. So as far as troops, let's see, what do we actually have? I didn't actually check the troops. I don't think there was anything useful here, which is probably why I don't remember. Web Spinner's here. It has triple damage on Skull. It's one of the more commonly used things on Skull damage. Can win really quick. Generally, I do not advise getting a legend off of Soulforge. However, it is one of the strongest legends in the game. So it's somewhat noteworthy in that regard. But everything else, not really too enticing. Yagway, kind of decent as well, but starting to fall off the meta a little bit. And all the mythics, not really too good. Guard's Avatar could theoretically be used on occasion. He is the only mythic still within Whitehelm, so he has that going for him for that extra armor bonus. He also has a full AoE that kind of works like a Rowan in a way if you don't have access to Rowan as a color. It's actually weaker than Rowan despite it being a mythic, oddly enough. However, it does have a higher damage potential than it if you can get really high stats on it. So in situations, it can be okay. Overall, it's rather average, and Rowan is pretty much always the go-to choice if you have the option to do so. So overall, probably worth skipping as far as crafting troops are concerned. Other than that, as far as weapons, don't forget to go get your Scythe of Sin. I always make sure not to grab these until the video, just as a reminder. But yeah, that is a new weapon, so any of you endgame players, don't forget to go get it before the end of the week if you haven't checked your Soulforge yet. Other than that, we got 1.5 billion weapons this week. As far as absolute strongest, it is unfortunately the most expensive as well. We got Doomed Crossbow. This is one of the 6 super good Doom weapons, the ones that do full AoE damage into a Doom Skull convert. So definitely worth considering picking up. I know we haven't had a Doom event for what feels like forever, since it's now 11-week gap. Hopefully it'll do something about that. We got our next Doom event in 2 weeks from now. But yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to get those upgrade scrolls. I forget what color actually comes in 2 weeks. But anyways, the red Doomed Crossbow is available. Very strong weapon, especially if you have some red of those upgrading scrolls laying around. Other than that, everything else is pretty much just for the upgrading purposes if you just want to have for collecting. Most of the other stuff here is pretty useless. However, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gosh, this place has a lot of weapons. 7, if you count Doomed Crossbow. 7 weapons are available this week. That is a very, very, very high amount of weapons. options. Also, keep in mind, one of these is only available today. It was, I think it was the one I just clicked on. Forbidden Tome is the one that is only available on this Tuesday. It is completely useless. However, if you want to get it, it is available only today and won't be available for months. So do be aware of that if you're trying to collect everything. Forbidden Tome only this today, and the rest of them will be for the rest of the week. But still a lot of weapon options, to say the least, as far as what's available. All rather useless other than Doomed Crossbow. And of course, Doomed Crossbow is a little bit pricey, but probably worth it. I will be showing a team with it as well. Speaking of that, let's get into all the teams. So, teams related to all the stuff that we got going on this week. So, we got a World Tesla. This is for the World Lore event, of course. We basically just use a bunch of mana accumulation into a Tesla. We do have extra spell damage for the event, so you can end up just using it with a Tesla, one-shot everything, rinse, repeat, and this lasts pretty much forever. I'm pretty sure if you buy tier 4, it'll last for the entire week. Even if you didn't, I'm pretty sure it still goes pretty far. Like, it will definitely go for the lower end. It goes for the mid end. I'm pretty sure it can go for the later end. It might eventually stop one-shotting. However, two-shotting is going to be pretty quick, given that you have 3 mana generators. You could end up putting Hero there if you really need to tank a little bit more, a little bit later, but overall, it seems to be fine at the earlier to mid-range battles. Though, of course, it depends on your stats, but yeah, Tesla, super ridiculously strong for this event, even without half mana start. And of course, if you want to, you can still 20% mana start her off of a metal, and then to set the other 2 to spell increase metals. If you went a little bit further, you might not necessarily do that because you would have more than 2 metals. But if you bought tier 4, you would have 2 metals, so it would work out perfectly. 20% into 2 to spell increase metals. Anyways, a much cheaper way of running this, even though this doesn't really utilize the extra spell damage you have, is just run Mang. You do have access to Mang, while World Lore event does restrict the weapon. Red is one of the 2 colors, red and purple, so you do have access to Mang. Mang is a very, very good, easy to obtain upscaling option that eliminates all armor, makes it into attack, and you're pretty much good to go from there. It basically converts all their armor to your attack value, so if they have 200 armor, well, you just got yourself 200 attack, so upscales very well, and the rest is basically this assist. Herdmaster here is for mana accumulation and cleanse if you need to cleanse. Leprechaun here is for empower mana accumulation, and Merline here is for silence in case you need to disable for them to not cast a strong ability. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole game plan. And just go Mang, kill everything out, win. That is basically the game plan. A little bit towards the slower side. If you need something a little bit quicker than this, while I didn't show one, you could easily just use like any full AoE options you have. Anything that hits all enemies, just plop it onto a team, put a bunch of spell metals on it, boom, you're good to go. That's pretty much all you have to do, and just put like 1 mana accumulator like a Leprechaun or something. So there's a couple ways you can go about it, depending on how you want to go about it. Anyways, for the faction, Illithia, it does allow Rowain to run the entire time, so if you want to run that, you can. Of course, Tesla is also available. And you can build a version of an Iron Gut team, so whatever you kind of want to run. However, Rowain or Scale Shield does run the entire time if you so choose to use it. Other than that, for Pure Faction, this is one of the easier Pure Factions in the game. Not sure if I would say the absolute easiest, though I definitely underestimated how overpowered Spell Steal is on the battles. The main reason for this is even though the enemies gain stats, they don't gain stats in a relative way that they get a higher magic than you, because if you have potion effects, you're actually gaining magic at a quicker rate than them, because when you're getting higher level, like when they're all the way at 500, the ratio of magic that they get is relatively lower compared to the rest of the durability stats they're getting. However, when you're getting potion effects that are giving 7 to all stats, you're getting an equal amount of magic compared to all your other stats. So your magic stat is insanely high if you're running potions today, relative to the enemy, to such a degree that you basically zero out all their magic and then they can't do anything, and then you just win. It is super ridiculously easy with potions, and probably the absolute easiest with potion effects. Well, then again, several could be. Obviously, most of them are pretty straightforward with potions, but still, it's even without potions, can probably be done pretty easily, just by stealing them to the point where they can't really do anything, especially now that we're towards the end of the campaign. So this week, of course, we had a level 9 campaign, which ended up bringing 3 additional attack. However, we do have a 6 whole magic on it, and in total, we basically have like a whole potion effect of almost like 7 all stats just from the thing, between the 6 attack, the 6 magic, all that kind of stuff that we have on the campaign right now. So yeah, it's pretty much like a pure whole potion effect to go with it. Anyways, other than that, Doomsayer class. As far as running this, pretty straightforward. Just run a full AoE as normal. Everything else here is basically just for the explosions that they do at the start of battle. Gluttony is just there for some extra explosions to mana accumulate into if you need another option, if black manical options are not available. Greed doesn't actually help you win. It just gives you some gold. Well, it technically helps you win. It gives you a little bit of brown explosion at the start, which you need for the weapon. But overall, you basically just get 3 explosions at start. Ideally, you'll get good cascades, cast Black Manacle, Gluttony if you need for more mana accumulations there, rinse, repeat, win. That is pretty much the game plan. And other than that, Doomed Crossbow, which I guess we'll go run this team real quick. So, Raph, Doomed Crossbow, Skyla, and Possessed King. I don't think I'm running the right banner for it right now, so let's go run this real quick. So this is Doomed Crossbow. Doomed Crossbow, I wouldn't say he's the strongest of the 6 full AoE Doom converting weapons, though it is pretty high up there in that it is at least decent. So we'll go throw it down onto this battle here. I would repick into something a little bit realer as a team, but for now, we'll just run against this. Not really too big a deal. But to show off this team, you don't necessarily even need a good team because, or you know, for opponent, because the main premise that actually makes this work is whenever we take a skull, we explode a lot, especially extra turn skulls. We are just going to be exploding all over the place. I'm actually going to go for the convert here, I think. Actually, then again, we don't really get too much out of it. Yeah, that's probably not worth going for. We're just actually going to go for a single thing over there. But we can get a lot of explosions from this thing. And it just kind of goes all over the place as far as moving the board. So unfortunately, we don't really have much of a option there. We'll just go for the skull. Unfortunately, the thing doesn't trigger. But extra turn skulls, a lot of explosion. We're getting 2 explosion from Possessed King every single time we take a extra turn. We get another explosion from Titan whenever we take an extra turn. And we get 2 explosions from Skull whenever we take a skull. So a 4-time skull is going to be 5 explosions, which is a lot of explosion. And it's really easy to go and clear out all the Doom Skulls with it. We haven't really had a chance to go get Doom Skull alignment. But as you can see, it kind of just chains forever. And you use it with Skyla, so you have a Skull Storm, so it chains even longer. Throw a Doomed Crossbow there, get your nice big burst, and you can see you get a lot of skulls. It's a decently meta team. Personally, not a fan of it, as I don't often use Raph. But if anything else, hey, I didn't even realize that Raph is also relevant in the sense that he's in the event key drop table right now. So half this team is actually available right now. Because Raph and Doomed Crossbow are both available. So, yeah, I guess that works out. Convenient to show 2 things off. So, yeah, that's that team. It's decently meta. I personally don't like using it just because it's really inconsistent, but it's fun to watch just because it has so much explosion and so much board cycle. And once it gets chaining, it can chain for a very, very long amount of times. It's also potentially a good team to set on your defend team. Whenever your team gets like a 7 cascade on defend, it does give you a 1 gem. And while this doesn't impact you to give you that many gems, it gives you a handful of gems per week. I wouldn't go out of your way to build this team just for that purpose, but it theoretically would actually be decent as a defend team if you just want to set something that could potentially farm you a few gems. It's a really dated mechanic, but it is still a thing. Anyways, one last thing to really mention is this is the second to last week of campaign, so if you haven't been working on your campaigns, don't forget to go do them. Next week will be the very last week to go finish out all of these tasks, so make sure to get on that if you are interested in finishing all those tasks, especially if you end up buying the pass to any capacity. And if you did, the Heart of Rage is available this week, also Carindera if you bought the super expensive pass. However, this time around we didn't go for that, so we'll go over Carindera next week. However, Heart of Rage is available today. If you end up buying the pass, it's pretty useless. This enrages all allies and enemies for a 6 mana cost with a pretty redundant 50% score reduction, given that the enemy will also have enrage. So kind of redundant. Overall, it's a completely useless troop. However, it is crafting material, supposedly, in some way, shape, or form, probably for Carindera in some capacity. How exactly this will work, we'll probably find out next week, which we don't really have info on currently. And other than that, as I mentioned, we did get 3 additional permanent attack, or at least for this week. Do keep in mind, you have the stats for this week, then you have these stats for next week, and then it goes all the way back to 0. So do be mindful of that. We only have 2 weeks left of increased stats. So if you have any delves that you want to get on top of, now would be a good time, because as I mentioned, you basically have 1 whole potion effect of additional stats, like 7777. Pretty much, you have a little bit more into HP and slightly less into attack, armor, and magic. However, it's basically 7 to all stats, so definitely worth considering if you're looking to get some pure factions done without potions, or even with potions, as it'll be much easier to do while you have these amount of stats compared to when it's all the way away at 0. Obviously, you don't need these stats necessarily to do them, but it can be pretty helpful, so do be mindful of that if you want to go and utilize them. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Tonight, we'll be going and doing the Illithia faction, just doing the free battles, of course, since we already did Peer faction for it, and going from there. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys later. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye, everyone.